And Bonds hits one high. Hits it deep. It is out of here. 7:56. Bonds stands alone.
Now Booker with Tucker on him. Throws it up for 8. Shot blocked by Antetokounmpo. What a block from Giannis.
17 seconds from Game 7 or from championship number 6. Jordan, open, Chicago with the lead.
Minute remaining. And they're putting Curry in the pick and roll, trying to get him on Irving. Irving and Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good. Kyrie Irving from downtown.
We're sending it in, Jerome. That's for damn sure.
That is for damn sure. And welcome everybody to the Taproom Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jordan. Stacks on stacks on stacks, lads. Here as always with my boy, Mr. Big Ballin, Ben Larson. What's going on tonight?
Not much, man. It's good to be back.
It is
Feels
great
like,
to be back.
Feels like we've been gone forever, but I don't know. It's only been like a week, but you know, definitely good to be back. Great weekend, great sports. Cannot complain.
Yep.
How you doing? How you feeling? Better question.
Oh, feeling great, man. You know, my battle with COVID. You know, if you watched the show last week, you could hear me coughing a little bit. I did not know at that point I had COVID. Next day, I woke up feeling like total shit.
Yeah. Took
a test, had COVID. You know, battled it through the week, but here we are, Ben. And it's a great week in sports, you know, even though things didn't go my way. Yep. But that's okay. And we're here and we got a lot to talk about, man. I got to pour my heart out tonight. We got a lot to discuss because we have not been on in a whole week.
Yep. Whole week.
And I'm not drinking beer tonight, unfortunately.
That's okay.
I'm still recovering.
Okay.
I'm not contagious anymore. I'm much better. But I figured I should probably not drink a beer tonight.
That's good idea. Yeah, so we're gonna have a water episode today. I'm gonna be drinking seltzers. Jordan's gonna be drinking that H2O. But we're still gonna kind of focus this on being a podcast while we're sitting around talking sports, drinking beer, or just I guess just drinking in this week because we aren't gonna have beer. But we do still want you to go out there, support those local breweries, support your local brewers. Make sure you get to know those brewers as well because they have some great things in their minds and great things coming out on the weekly basis, which is the big thing about breweries is that there's always going to be something new. If you can't get out to a brewery or your town doesn't have a good brewery, go find a bottle shop and support them because they're doing the hard work for you in getting those beers to you. And there are so many great craft beers. And to get some great craft beers, make sure to go to Devour or download the Devour app. That's TAVOUR. Use our promo code. It's Taproom, TAPROOM.
Let's go,
sign
y'all.
up, and you'll get $10 off your first purchase of $25 or more. Some cases that is 2 free beers.
Yep.
But since we're not going over to Jordan tonight, I'm going to start with my first
what are
beer
you
of the night.
sipping on?
And I am going with, it's called the Kumquat Mango Smoothie Seltzer, and this is coming from Untitled Art. Great artwork on the can. It is nice and plain, and I definitely have to shout out Heather Hailstones, who is the artist for this one. But this beer is coming from Waunakee, Wisconsin. We've had a couple breweries out of Waunakee, Wisconsin, and I don't think we've had either of us have had Untitled Art before.
Yeah, I've never heard of them.
Yeah, so definitely saw this one today and knew that I had to try it. I mean, it looks like Tang, which is the the good thing here. It's got a great smell to it. I've taken a sip and it just reminds me of carbonated juice. So we're gonna see how it goes throughout the full pint, and hopefully by the end we'll get a good rating out of this.
Nice, man. I'm very much looking forward to that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I wish I was drinking a beer, to be honest. That was, I debated it all day. I was like, all right, what beer am I going to drink tonight? And then I was like, you know what? Probably shouldn't drink a beer yet. Probably should let my body
tomorrow.
let my body recover and go from there.
Yeah, exactly.
But Ben, we got a lot to go over tonight. Just
to talk about.
A ton of stuff to talk about. And the biggest thing is the NBA. Playoffs. We had 2 Game 7s today. Not gonna lie, expected things to go the other way. But first, let's talk about Phoenix and Dallas. So, Phoenix went up in this series 2-0. Dallas comes back, ties it at home 2-0. And both we did a show the night before Game 3, and we both said we just didn't see Dallas winning another game because Phoenix had looked so dominant. And this is a 65-win team, the best team in basketball throughout the entire course of the regular season. And Dallas looked great the last 2 games. I mean, they won. I forget the score of what was that game? Game 6.
Game 6 was 113-86.
113-86, and then it was 123-90. And it's honestly a miracle that the Suns scored 90 points today. But what was your thoughts on those last 2 games in that series right there?
I mean, the big thing that they did was they really kind of isolated the big 3 and didn't let them play their game, which realistically ended the series for Phoenix. I mean, we look at today's game, and at halftime, the big 3 were shooting 1 for 13, and they started 0-12. And that took them, that 1 for 13 took them till 4 minutes left in the second to score their first field goal. You look at them, they only had 6 points in the first half. And that, what they did to Booker, Paul, and Ayton, to be honest, it really scares me for the next series. But they really were able to isolate what, Booker and Paul do best and really made them take shots that were uncomfortable for them. And they found other players other than Luka, which we talked about last week, to really push that game offensively, to get a little bit more of a wider spread on that offensive kind of firepower. And, we saw it with, what was it? 25-point win in Game 6. And then today with the 33-point win.
Yeah, and they dominated today, dude. Yeah. The Suns only had 27 points at the end of the first half. Luka himself had 27 points. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, that's what I'm saying. The score in this game doesn't even dictate. I can't even believe they scored as many points as they scored today. I can't believe they got to 90, dude. Because at halftime, the over-under in this game, Ben, was 204.5. It closed at. Yeah. And at halftime of this game had a 95% chance of going under. Yeah. But the whatchamacallit, what's their name? The Suns scored, 70 points basically in the 63 in the second half. They had a big second half. Yeah. And obviously they couldn't stop Dallas in the third quarter. Dallas had 35 points in the third quarter. Yeah. But the thing to me that's crazy is Chris Paul looks washed. He was awful in the last 5. He looked bad in the last 5 games of that series, dude. And he's 37 years old now, and Father Time's undefeated. Yeah. But that was the biggest difference because Phoenix's game in games 1 and 2 revolved around Devin Booker and Chris Paul attacking the rim and finding teammates for open shots. Yeah. And they weren't able to do that really. Devin Booker had a great game 5, which is they won, go to Dallas for game 6. If it wasn't for Devin Booker going bananas in that game, Dallas probably closes this out 42. Yeah, easily. And Dallas didn't even shoot well in game 5. They shot terribly. Mm-hmm. But I just think that the Suns, I hate to say this, but maybe last year was fraudulent, dude, because they did get there because they had faced the teams with a ton of injuries, right? Yeah. Anthony Davis gets hurt in the first round when they're down 2-1. They win that series. Then they play Denver Nuggets without Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. And then in the Western Conference Finals, they played damn, Ben, who did they play in the Western Conference Finals last year? Why am I drawing a blank, dude?
Who was in the finals last year? The Jazz?
Was it the Jazz? Nah. It was another team that wasn't very healthy. I
I
remember
think it
that.
was Utah.
Nah, because Utah lost to the Clippers. Oh, that's who they played. They played the Clippers.
Okay.
And the Clippers, didn't they, was it the
without
Clippers?
Kawhi.
And yeah, they didn't have, they were missing players. So,
Yep.
you know, back-to-back years where, I'm saying that year, you know, they go through that course and everyone says, oh, like, this is a fraudulent,
I don't think you can say that this is a fraudulent team when you win 64 games.
The regular season doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, absolutely. But I still don't think you can call them a fraudulent team when you're 64-18. And, you know, I think they more of just peaked at the wrong time. They left everything out there during the regular season when, you know that you have to go deep into yourself, deep into your team to get through even just a playoff round.
Yeah.
You know, they played well last round. You know, again, not against a difficult team in the Pelicans, but they were able to, you know, win those games big that they did. They should have beat them, you know, 4-1, maybe 4-0. That's what we thought was going to happen in that series, but CJ McCollum went off. But, you know, it just seemed like they were gassed at the end of each of these series and, you know, weren't able to pull this out. And I think that has to do with, you know, putting too much out there during the regular season. And if they hadn't had done that, they'd be a little bit more fresh. They'd, you know, be a little bit more, competitive in the playoffs here.
Well, but the Suns are also a team that, you know, everyone raved about their depth, you know what I mean? And that they were deeper than last year. And so you would expect them, and it's not like Chris Paul and Devin Booker played huge minutes all year. I mean, they only played like 32 minutes a game, which is like, you know, far under league leaders, right? So, I mean, obviously they look gassed, but for Chris Paul, I mean, that's obviously, I could attribute a lot of that to age, you know what I mean? Like father time's undefeated, and that's really where the series turned, you know what I mean? So whether it was that they took the regular season a little too serious, because they did kind of play with a chip on their shoulder because everybody said that they were fraudulent. Yeah. And you kind of saw that throughout the course of the year. I mean, that's a great point. Like, that could have been it, but, I mean, they just got outclassed. And Luka's a guy that plays heavy minutes all year, Ben.
Yeah, yeah. You know, when something that I was really surprised to see is they did not push the ball to Ayton down low. I mean, how many times did we see Ayton turn around and do a fadeaway jumper? And, you know, if they got him the ball deep enough, then, you know, he turns around and dunks it. I mean, he can dunk it over anybody on that Dallas team.
Yeah.
And they didn't push that when they should have. I mean, I was really unimpressed by Ayton this whole series, and really Ayton in the Pelican series as well.
Well, Ayton had a good game 6, you know, and that was kind of when Phoenix was getting buckets. Like, that's what they were going to DeAndre Ayton and with the high-low action. And that's really where they thrived in games 1 and 2 too. You know what I mean? Because that is where the Mavs are susceptible. Is
why go away from that? I mean, I know he was in foul trouble today, but
and then game 6, by the time they did it, they were already down like 30 points, so it was kind of like useless, and they couldn't get a stop, and they couldn't get a stop today either. You know, that's probably the most concerning part is they couldn't stay in front of either Luka or Jalen Brunson or today Spencer Dinwiddie. Yeah. You know, so that was a big difference. But, I mean, you got to tip your cap to Dallas, dude. They look excellent. Jason Kidd, you know, I was very skeptical of the hire because he is a former Milwaukee Bucks coach, and I saw the way he coached the Bucks, and he had the Bucks going really well, and then he kind of lost the locker room and shit kind of compiled. It's his kid's first year, so he hasn't lost the locker room yet, but he's made some great schematic adjustments. Yeah. And we've seen it. And, you know, taking pressure off of Luka, he's been able to cut his minutes and get guys like Jalen Brunson and Spencer Dinwiddie to take a little bit of wear and tear off him to handle the ball a little bit more. Yeah. And I mean, Dallas I think that's the biggest thing, Ben, is the thing we saw in both conference series, the team that shot the 3-point ball the best won the series. Yeah. Yep. You know? And I think that's a huge reason, dude. Dallas shot the fucking leather off the ball. Phoenix, on the other hand, did not shoot well. Mikal Bridges wasn't good. Cameron Johnson wasn't good. Landry Shamet, he was good in Game 5, but outside of that, he was kind of non-existent. Yep. You know, Booker really struggled from the field in this series too. So I mean, you got to take your cap off to the Mavericks there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we jump into the previews, let's talk about the Eastern Conference Finals. I kind of touched on it a little bit. You know, Boston, obviously the better roster, right? But Giannis is definitely the best player in the world, and I thought he proved that in this series, even though they didn't win the series. But I mean, dude, Boston was phenomenal shooting the basketball, especially the last 2 games, dude.
Yep. Well, the big thing today was the three. You know, same thing you mentioned earlier was the 3-point line. You know, you can't win a game when you're shooting 12% from the 3.
Dude, they shot under 15% for the whole series.
Yeah, it's incredible in my mind that they went to 7. I think because of Giannis and what he can do is the only reason why Milwaukee was able to, you know, really push that to a lengthy series. And, you know, we talked about it when Middleton went down, that this was going to be an incredibly difficult series for Milwaukee because Holiday is good, but he's more of that defensive piece instead of the offensive firepower. When you have, you know, Grayson Allen putting up 2 points in 25 minutes, you've got, you know, Lopez. I mean, Lopez was decent today. He had 15 points, but, you know, Wesley Matthews, 3 points. Portis only 10. I mean, I think that's good for Portis, but when you're looking, you know, at the team and having your, you know, your big 3 and then, you know, your 4th player at 10, that's not going to win you games. You know, Connaughton, 2 points today in 32 minutes.
Sure, I mean,
shot 1 for 6, 0 for 5 from the 3-point line.
Outside of that first quarter, I mean, nobody was really good. Giannis was phenomenal in that first quarter, but then what happened was, you know, guys stopped making shots, and Boston was able to clamp the lane a little bit more, and it made things a lot more difficult for Giannis.
Yep.
I mean, dude, Boston did what they had to do, and you know, without Chris Middleton, you know, like you said, this series was going to be tough without Chris Middleton. I think everybody knew that. The series price even said it, and you know, they had the series was minus 220 to start with, so obviously, you know, Boston was pretty heavily favored in the series. The fact that, you know, Giannis did what he had to do, the first player ever to score over 200 points, have over 100 rebounds, and over 50 assists in a series. I mean, without him, you know, the Bucks get fucking swept, dude. Yeah, like easily. You know, and it's unfortunate. You know, the Bucks had some luck go their way last year with injuries too. They also had some luck go against them last year with injuries, and this year, you know, kind of the same thing. And it's just it's unfortunate that Chris Middleton got hurt, because I think if he did play, like, this series is the outcome is very different.
Yeah.
You know, losing him, you know, they couldn't really get anything going outside of Giannis, and he's literally the type of guy that they were missing. Yeah. And I think you're absolutely right with Grayson Allen. You know, he was awful in this series.
0 for 10 today.
0 for 10, man. Just dude. Every game he was awful. And if he's not hitting threes, he's basically useless, because they were picking him apart defensively. And that was the other thing, is like the Bucks had to commit so many defenders to stop drives, because like they have guys like Grayson Allen that they basically have to play. You know what I mean? Who else are you going to play in that position? And that wing defense kind of hurt them, and they weren't able to overcome it, and no one really showed up except for Giannis. Mm-hmm. Very unfortunate thing, but Giannis did his thing, man. And, you know, Boston's moving forward. They're the favorites in the next series, Ben, against the Miami Heat. Minus 175, but they're plus 2 in game 1 on the road.
Yeah.
Which is pretty interesting.
Before we move on to the next series, I want to go back to the West a little bit and ask you a quick question regarding the Warriors and Grizzlies, and your thoughts on what would have happened in that series if Ja had continued to play. You know, we saw them win game 5 without Ja, and then, you know, come back to game 6 when, you know, it was still a hell of a close game, but didn't end up taking it. I mean, I guess 14 points at the end wasn't wasn't much, but they absolutely destroyed the Warriors by 39 points without Ja.
Yeah.
Do you think if Ja was in there, that would have happened, game 5? Do you think game 6 would have been different? Do you think this would have been a 7-game series?
I don't know. It's a weird conundrum, but for some reason the Grizzlies are better without Ja Morant, and I can't really I don't know why, because Ja's a great player, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
it's because they get bigger when you have Steven Adams in there. He's able.
Well, the only reason why they took Steven Adams off the court was because Ja unfortunately isn't a great defender, and he can't really stay in front of people. Or I don't know if it's effort or whatever, but he's not really a good defender, and they kept getting Steven Adams and Ja Morant on the pick and roll, which was really like killing them, because Steven Adams can't do that. But when you have Bane and Dylan Brooks and Tyus Jones out there, it's a little bit different. Or with Zaire Williams, they're much better defenders. You know what I mean? So I think that was the biggest difference in the series. The Warriors were favored in that series regardless. I think they were the better team, and like I said before, dude, I thought Memphis should have lost in the first round to Minnesota, dude. If Minnesota wasn't so stupid, they would have won that series, dude. They held 15-point leads in every single game. You know what I mean? So I wasn't really high on Memphis coming into the series. So I don't know. Golden State did what they had to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's going to be tough for Golden State and Dallas, to be honest. You know what I mean? Like, that's going to be a tough series. So let's talk about that series, dude. Golden State and Dallas. We'll get to the East in a minute. Right now, Golden State, a heavy favorite, minus 250 to win the series. Dallas, you're getting plus money, plus 195. What's your thoughts on this series, man?
I mean, it's this is going to be a tough series. I think both of these series are going to go distance. I think we're going to have at least 6 to 7 games within both sides of the East and West here. There's seeing how Dallas has played in the last 2 games really does make me worry about the Warriors, and how we've seen Dallas play the Warriors this whole season. Dallas is 3-1 over the season and did win big in 2 of those games that they took. And, it does worry me because we know what Dallas can do, but if Dallas comes out and plays like they did in the start of the series that they played in Phoenix, then I'm not too worried that, the Warriors can overtake them. But if they play these last 2 games, they really were able to shut down the shooters of Phoenix and push Phoenix to taking really bad shots. And I think they can do that with the Warriors too. With the way that the Warriors are turning over the ball and are not holding on to the ball. Like, I'm worried as a Warriors fan going into this series.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be an interesting series, man. And I think everybody's writing the Mavericks off, which is, I always think that's pretty. That's a good thing for Dallas to have, because they're kind of playing with house money. You know what I mean? So I think that only benefits them in the long run. And I think that's kind of what happened in this series. Like, they were down 2-0, and it was kind of like, all right, everyone's counting us out. I mean, we did. You know what I mean? Yeah. I did.
Yep.
And they turned it up and played a hell of a series. And the biggest thing is, like, they're shooting the 3-ball incredibly. You know what I mean? And I think that's the biggest difference from Memphis to and that's a big thing why Memphis turned around and won those 2 games. They were knocking down threes, dude. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that, Dallas is a better defensive team, kind of similar to what they're going to play without Ja. And that team kind of gave the Warriors a little bit of trouble. Yeah. Game 6, like, I'm not going to put a ton into that 14-point win. That game was closer than that. But once it came down to crunch time and the Warriors knocked down a couple shots and the arena got fucking crazy. And you kind of saw the inexperience of the Grizzlies rear its head, dude, because they came down and shot bad shots. They didn't run their offense, and it kind of got away from them really fast. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think this is going to be a hell of a series, man. And I think that there's some value on the Mavericks plus 195, especially because they have the best player in the series. And whenever that's the case, you can't count that team out. And I know you're going to say Steph's the best player, but he's no longer the best player.
No, not the way he's been playing. I'd even say all season.
Yeah, exactly. That's what, like, historically, obviously, you know, you gotta say he steps up there, but the way that he's playing, Luka is definitely the best player in the series
right now. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what Clay we get.
Exactly. That's another great point, dude.
Yep.
Are you gonna get Game 6 Clay, or are you gonna get the rest of the playoffs Clay?
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. Yeah, it's going to be interesting there. It's going to be interesting to see what Steve Kerr will be back, which will be good. But it'll be interesting to see what defense he plays against Dallas, because we saw two different sides of the coin defensively in this series against Memphis, and yes, they worked at times, but you need to have those adjustments to the style of play that Dallas comes out with, because they can isolate Luka and see what happens with that, but then that's going to open up everybody else to take three like they were doing today. And if Golden State can't handle that, that's going to be major problems. If they go to a big zone defense and open up Luka, is Luka just going to go and take over the game?
The Warriors were also only 1-3 against the Mavericks this year, only scoring 105 points per game.
Yep.
So that's pretty interesting.
One of them was Clay early coming back. That was.
But that's the thing is, like, I think the Warriors they're similar to where the Suns are. So the Warriors, they want to get Curry and Jordan Poole, heading towards the rim. Yep. Or they want to get those two guys, moving off the ball and have Draymond Green passing them the ball, right?
Yeah.
Similar thing with how the Suns played. It was the same thing with Booker and Chris Paul.
Yeah.
And I think that the Mavericks have two great defenders in Reggie Bullock and Dorian Finney-Smith, that they can be able to make those guys' job a little bit harder. Mm-hmm. Thing with the Warriors is who's going to step up outside of that. Is going to be Clay, because he's probably going to be guarded by Luka.
Yeah.
And then or is it going to be Andrew Wiggins?
Yep.
Right.
Wiggins has been non-existent those first two series.
Yeah. And
he
was good in Game 6 though. He was good in Game 6. The second half of Game 6 he was good.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to be the biggest thing for the Warriors is how are they going to get to the basket to get enough pressure to get their shooters open, because Dallas doesn't have a ton of rim protection. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's really their guards and their wings staying in front of players and not letting them penetrate into the lane, which they were able to do against Phoenix. Can they break that? You know what I mean? I think that's going to be the biggest thing, because Luka's going to do what Luka does. He does it against everybody. Doesn't matter who he plays, which is why I say, like, that's dangerous that they're plus 195 when Luka's going to go in there and he's going to give you, 30, 10, and 10 a game, right? So I think that's dangerous. For Dallas, it's really who are they going to get anything out of Spencer Dinwiddie, Jalen Brunson, because when they didn't, they lost those two games in Phoenix, right?
Yeah.
When they did get good production from those two, you see what happens, man. Like, they blow the fucking doors open off teams.
Yep.
They're a great team. And they shoot the three ball really well. I mean, all five guys on the floor can shoot the three.
Yeah.
Which is dangerous.
Absolutely.
They fucking lit it up. I pulled up the stats from. So 3-point percentage. The Warriors, the Mavericks lead the NBA in the playoffs right now. 38.6%. 38.5, sorry. Golden State 37.6, Boston 37%, and then Miami 32%. So let's talk about that series, Ben. Miami versus Boston. Like I said, Boston is the favorite in this series right now, with the game not being played, but they're a slight underdog in game 1, +2. What is your thoughts on this series here?
Well, I just don't think Memphis has enough, or sorry, not Memphis. Miami has enough to win this series, just because I don't think you're going to see Jimmy Butler have as good of a series against Boston as he has in the first two series. Played really well against Atlanta. I mean, the whole squad played well against Atlanta. And then, Philly just really didn't have an answer for him. But I just don't see him really going off. I mean, he's one of those, players that you're looking at Father Time of, can can he last? I mean, I know he's not as old as Chris Paul, but his best basketball we saw in the bubble. And, and really with Miami, a lot of their best basketball we saw in the bubble. And that was, a completely different story than what we have right now. Miami's a great team. Absolutely. But I think Boston is just bigger and, stronger than Miami. And they're going to be really pushing this series. I think it's going to go long as well. But I think they're going to push this series and really get the W here just because they can out muscle Miami.
Yeah, they I mean, I think Miami had a great draw, dude. Like, the Hawks were banged up, dude. You know what I mean? Like, DeAndre Hunter was hurt. Clint Capella was hurt. And then obviously I just think that they're not that great of a team. But Philly, with Embiid healthy, I think that series would have played out a little bit differently. However, I do think that Doc Rivers got in his way like he normally does because he continued to play the same guys in the rotation, even though they were getting like scorched. Matisse Thybulle, he barely even gives him a chance. I know he doesn't give you much offensively, but when he was matched up with Jimmy Butler was struggling. And that's why it was close in game 6 because Danny Green got hurt and he was forced to play Thybulle. Thybulle D's up on Butler, and was able to kind of contain him. And then he doesn't play Thybulle the rest of the second half, and look what happened. They get blown out of the water. So I think Miami's had a good draw. I've said all year long that Miami is a very flawed team because they lack a go-to scorer. Jimmy has been able to do that in the playoffs. But look who he's done it against. Now he's going to be facing the best defensive team in the entire NBA. I don't think that he's going to be able to do that. And if the threes aren't falling for Miami, and Boston is the number 1 defense against three-pointers. Like they also contest more threes than any other team. And they play a lineup that allows them to switch everything. And because they can do that, they muck things up offensively for other teams. That's what we saw with the Bucks is outside of Giannis, because it doesn't matter about Giannis. He's going to go after everybody. But everybody else couldn't really do anything because everyone was switching and everyone can defend on that team. I like Boston this series. I think, honestly, Boston might get them out of there in 5 games.
You think so? Okay.
I think, honestly, I like Miami to win game 1, and then I think Boston might take the next 4 games.
Okay.
To be honest.
I'm going to go 6 games. I think this is going to be a 4-2 series. Just towards Boston. I think Miami will pull out one that they shouldn't win.
Maybe.
So you with the other series, are you going 7 games?
Yeah, I'm going 7 games.
And
I'm gonna take the Mavs. Just because everyone's counting them out.
Yeah.
And I'm just not sure what I'm gonna get out of. Like if you tell me Clay's gonna play like game 6, then I'm gonna say the Warriors in 6.
Yeah.
But I just don't know. And Jordan Poole's been he hasn't been very good in the last couple games either. And I think he's going to be an important part. And Steph's kind of been up and down all season, including the playoffs. And I think that's huge, dude. Like, I don't think this is going to be a walk in the park.
No,
you know what I mean? I think, and the series price tells you it's going to be a walk in the park. And I don't see it, man.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
I think this is going 7. I'm going to go Warriors, so.
I like it.
Because they're getting that game 7 is going to be at home.
I like it. All right, let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back in here and we'll talk about NHL. Got a lot to talk about NHL.
Yep.
It's been good. We got a game in overtime right now, Ben.
Still going, huh?
Still going. So we'll be right back. Hang tight with us. Give us like 2 minutes. All right, we are back. So let's talk some NHL playoffs, Ben.
Yep.
Your favorite. It's been a great
right now.
It's been a great Stanley Cup playoffs.
It really has.
It's been amazing Stanley Cup playoffs. Right now we got the last series in the first round. Game 7. Dallas is tied 2-2. 8 minutes and 25 seconds left in the first overtime. Calgary has 58 shots on goal to Dallas's 27.
Yeah.
Oh, that is incredible.
And this is something that I never saw happening. We talked about this last week, seeing, Calgary was going to, blow the pants off of Dallas. Dallas being, one of the wild card teams, to come in and really just put a mark on what Calgary is, normally doing is insane.
Oh my
Absolutely insane.
Yeah, what's going on is absolutely nuts. Whoever Dallas's goalie is, I forget his name. Incredible what he's doing.
Dallas's goalie is oh my god, Ottinger.
Yeah,
Jake Ottinger.
Ottinger is playing amazing.
Yep.
So if this game goes final, we will keep y'all posted on that. But let's talk about these other series, Ben. So let's head over east first. I want to start with the Toronto Maple Leafs and Tampa Bay Lightning for obvious reasons. Tampa Bay, well, first of all, Tampa Bay back-to-back champions, Stanley Cup champions. Toronto, high expectations this year. Austin Matthews leads the NHL in goals scored. Obviously, Toronto looking to take that next step as a team with Austin Matthews, you know what I mean? And they were really hoping to make a Stanley Cup run this year.
If anything, just get out of the first round of playoffs.
Yeah. And as a team, they haven't been able to do since what, 2002, 04?
It's been a long time. I don't know what the exact year, but we're looking at close to 20 years here.
It's been nuts.
Yep. And they had probably one of the best teams on paper going into the playoffs here.
Yep. But again, this team is literally cursed, dude. That's the only way to explain it.
Yep.
This organization is absolutely cursed.
Well, and I think it also goes cursed not only with the players, but with the fans as well. I mean, we saw Toronto fans fighting Toronto fans after the Game 7 loss.
Just because they wear blue, dude. They don't have to act like Dodgers fans.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's incredible that at the amount of passion that they have, but also at the same time, how quickly that can turn to negativity. And, I get that they're frustrated and, never winning a first round playoff series in almost 20 years, but you're going after your own fans. Give me a break.
Yeah. And the players were very frustrated after the loss. You saw a lot of emotion come out of the players. Like they were expecting to do better.
Yep.
They got an unlucky draw getting, the Stanley Cup champions.
The 2-time.
Back to back. I definitely thought Toronto was gonna overturn the curse and win that series, but Tampa is going to be playing against in the second round. They're gonna be playing the Florida Panthers, Battle of Florida here.
Yep.
Right now the Lightning are underdogs, plus 135, Panthers minus 155. What do you think of? First of all, what do you think of the Florida Capital series? Florida ended up winning the series 4-2. They were down 2-1, ended up winning 3 games in a row. Florida was the best team all season long, though, so I think we all expected them to win. But what's your thoughts on Florida Panthers and getting past the ageless wonder Ovechkin?
We did. Ovechkin still had, 6 points, 5 assists, and a goal, which is, incredible for him to be doing at his age. But the Capitals are a great team. I just don't think they had everything there. Defense was a little bit weak this year, and the depth in the third and fourth line was just a little bit, lacking for them to make a deep playoff run. And I think that's exactly what the Panthers have. Is they have the depth, they have veterans, they have youngsters that really can push that puck forward, and really, you had a emergence of Carter Verhaeghe, and he absolutely took over this series, and
12 points,
12 points, 6 goals, 6 assists, and without him, Florida doesn't come back and win this series. But that's something that you need in the playoffs is, these young guys, these, second, third liners really step up and take the game to really push it into that next level. And that's what I think Florida has. And they have that depth in defense and, can really take a run at, the playoffs here. I think they're going to have a hard time with with Tampa Bay, but I think this is a team that can win against Tampa Bay. You've got to have strong goaltending by Bobrovsky. And I mean, he's being paid ridiculous amounts of money, so he really needs to. I think he's making like close to $10 million. So he really does need to step up and play to that contract.
Yeah, I think also Tampa losing Brady Point. I don't think he's going to play the rest of this series, is he?
I doubt it. But I mean, we could see him kind of come back in the end of the round and could make a push to kind of come in strong. Yeah, he's making 7 years, $70 million, Bobrovsky. So for 10 million wrapped up in your goaltending, you really need to, and that's kind of why they pushed, oh my God, the defenseman Ekblad into kind of that cap circumvention by putting him on the IR at the end of the year and bringing him back to the playoffs. So, Tampa Bay's getting a taste of their own money of what they pulled last year. And, I think this is a young enough team. I think this team has enough depth where Florida can take this series.
I hope so for Joe's sake.
Yep.
I would love to see Mr. Thornton win a Stanley Cup, and I think this is his best chance. You know what I mean? So, yeah, very much looking forward to that. I definitely thought Tampa lost some depth from last year. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I definitely wasn't expecting them to win the Stanley Cup this year, or even get out of that first round. You know what I mean? Yeah. I totally expected Toronto to win that first round, but
both did.
Tampa did their thing, man, and they made it past them. But I think the road ends here for the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions in their third title defense. I like Florida here.
Yep.
Like Florida big time.
As well.
All right, let's talk about this next Eastern Conference matchup. Two series over here that went 7 games. Mm-hmm. First one was Carolina and Boston, where the home team won every single game of that series. All 7 won by the home team. That was an interesting series to me, Ben, because, going into this season, going into the postseason and going into this series, Carolina had only allowed 1 goal to Boston in 3 games. And they absolutely dominated them the first 2 games. I was totally expecting Carolina to sweep Boston after that, but Boston really showed some heart, able to win game 3 and 4. Carolina wins game 5, and Carolina goes back to Boston for game 6. Boston's able to pull it out. And then game 7, Boston cannot do it. Carolina wins. They move on, and they were one of the better teams in the NHL as well. And then the Rangers in Penguins series was great too. But what's your thoughts on Carolina and Boston, Ben?
Yeah, the Carolina and Boston series, it really matched up to be a really kind of gritty series, and these two teams were pretty much built to mirror each other. So I'm not really surprised that it went to 7 after we saw kind of the level of play that Boston showed up with. Coming in as a wild card team, it's really just kind of one of those that you have to make the playoffs, and then what happens when you make the playoffs is it's a whole new season. And they came out strong. They came out gritty. As much as I hate Brad Marchand, he played well at this series, and really kind of pushed the punch for Boston here. And as he's the biggest douchebag, but he's an incredible hockey player. But 4 goals, 7 assists, and kind of just really took things over. And if it wasn't for him, the series would have been done in 4. But because of his grittiness, because of his work ethic, he was really able to push them in, those 2 games at home to really, up things for Boston here. We see an absolute Cinderella story, I guess we could say it, in Max Domi, getting 3 points and 2 goals in Game 7 there, and really kind of putting the stamp on this series for Carolina. So you're getting a lot of different depth scoring out of Carolina, and they had scoring coming from everywhere. You had 4 guys with with 3 goals in that series, and that's what you have to do in the playoffs to win games, and they were able to do it. I think they're going to have a much easier time going up against the Rangers.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you think that?
I think Rangers are just kind of a softer team. I don't think they have that grit that that Boston really brought in this series. They've got Panarin, and they've got
the Rangers are a better defensive team than the
they are a
Bruins,
better defensive team. They've got Zibanejad, but other than that, like,
I think the biggest thing with the Rangers is Igor going to show up, because he was phenomenal throughout the regular season, and then he wasn't that good against the Penguins in the playoffs, dude. And goaltending kind of, usually you only go as far as your goaltender takes you in the NHL playoffs. So if he doesn't get back to how he was in the regular season, I definitely think the Rangers are in some trouble for sure. But I think if they play how they played during the regular season, and even they were down 3-1 in this series, and so I mean they have a ton of momentum.
Well, yeah, but if Crosby doesn't get hurt in the series, then the Rangers don't move on. And
speculation, but
but the way that Crosby was playing in the first,
Calgary wins, Ben, 3-2.
There we go, and that's how the series should have happened. With Calgary taking the W. Again, surprised that it went to 7 in overtime, but we'll talk about that in just a second. Johnny Hockey scored it, huh?
Yeah,
Johnny Gaudreau. But again, I just think that that the grit of the Hurricanes is really going to push the Rangers to the limit, and I see the Rangers as much more of a one-sided defensive team than Carolina, which kind of has both offensive and defensive firepower. They're really strong on defense. Granted, I'd still give the Rangers a better defense than, at least defensively defensive, than the Hurricanes, but the Hurricanes are no slouch. And offensively, I'd give that, that depth, that, even the first line to Carolina, the way that they've been playing this year.
I think it's going to be a great series.
Yeah.
I think it's going to go 7. All right, let's move over to the Western Conference. We had the Avalanche versus Predators. I mean, we both had Colorado winning that series pretty handily, and they did. And then we had Blues Wild, and I picked the Blues to win the series, and the Blues won the series.
Yep.
So I wasn't really too shocked at the outcome of it.
And I initially thought that the Wild were going to take it, but then once we kind of went a little bit deeper into it, I think we both looked at the Blues here. But
yeah, I like the Blues, and I honestly do think the Avalanche are the better team, but I think this could be a very interesting series here, especially if St. Louis continues to get great goaltending. This is going to be a much better series, and I think people in the market even says like -400 Avs, so heavy favorite here. Blues plus 325. I'm not saying I'm gonna bet the Blues, but I'm saying that I don't think the Avalanche are gonna just run through them. You know what I mean?
I think the Avalanche are still gonna run through them.
In how many games?
5.
I'll see. I'm gonna give the Blues 2 wins in the series.
I'll give them 1. Blues are a much stronger team than Nashville, no doubt about that. Offensively, the Blues, I think, I know they got goals against the Wild, but Fleury didn't play all that great. A 90.6% save percentage isn't that outstanding. And yes, Jordan Binnington is a playoff goalie, but
on a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, but just the firepower that these Avalanche have.
Yeah, it's unreal.
I mean, it's incredible. It put up 7 goals against Nashville twice.
We said that last year though too.
5 goals in the other game, 2 in the other. Like when you outscore your opponent 21-9, that's incredible.
I mean, the Avalanche are good, dude.
Yep.
They're the best team in the NHL for a reason, and they're the favorites to win the cup for a reason.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about the Kings Oilers. This is another series that went 7 games. So both of these series went 7 games.
I wanted the Kings to win this so bad, even as a Sharks fan.
Why?
Because I just don't like the Oilers.
Man,
There's
Connor
just
McDavid, though.
So yeah, best player in hockey. I won't doubt that. Drysdale, probably the best shot in hockey. But I mean, it just goes back to the whole way that the NHL handed them this team, and it's frustrating. I would have loved to have another incredible oil spill where of all teams, the Los Angeles Kings come in and take out the Oilers. I would have absolutely loved to see that.
The Kings played well, man.
They did. They played really well. Bunch of young guys, and this team has some great prospect for the future.
Yeah, they're gonna be good.
Quick is not going to be around for long, so they need to pick up another goalie. But I mean, the young kids that they have on this team it's looking bright down in LA, which kind of sucks for me as a Sharks fan. But
Yep.
Who would have thought Evander Kane would have 7 goals? Douchebag.
Dude, he's playing very well. Yeah. They're a good team, man. They're a good team. Yep. Their problem is that defensively they're not that great. They actually shut the Kings out in Game 7, which was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But that's going to be the biggest thing against the Flames, because the Flames are a great defensive team. Mm-hmm. And they can put the puck in the net too. You know what I mean? So it's like, and this is the Battle of Alberta, Ben. These two teams hate each other.
Absolutely, it's gonna be dirty.
It's gonna be a good series. There's no series price out on it yet, but I'm
because Dallas just won or just lost. So, Flames just won.
Yeah, I'm guessing Calgary's probably gonna open like minus 160, minus 170, like probably similar to the Panthers and Lightning series. Yeah. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this one's definitely gonna go 7.
I think the Oilers are gonna win.
I'm gonna take the Flames here.
I did not like how the Flames looked against Dallas.
Yeah, Dallas came out a hell of a lot stronger than we thought, and a lot of depth scoring from here. I mean, your top goal scorer, Joe Pavelski, with 3 goals, 5 points on the series.
They didn't score a ton of goals, dude.
They didn't, and I think that's going to be the big difference on what the Oilers do in this series. But
I mean, the big difference too for the Calgary Flames. I mean, look at tonight, dude. They outshot Dallas like 3-1 and only won by 1 goal. Yeah. The Oilers are a better offensive team than they are.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at how Ottinger played. It was a hell of a lot better than Mike Smith did. I mean, Mike Smith was no slouch at 938 save percentage, but Ottinger just 954. It literally stood on his head all series.
Yeah. And the Kings probably they're probably better defensively than the Flames too. Like as far as like defensemen and their blue line, I think they have a better blue line.
Yeah. Yep.
So I think it's gonna be a great series. I think this series going 7-2. This Oilers Flames series. I like the Oilers. A little biased because I have a future on them to win the Western Conference. So I'm gonna keep riding with them until they let me down. I hedged on game 6 though, because I was like, damn, I think the Kings might win. So I hedged my futures bet, and then the fucking Oilers won. So I was like, fuck.
I can't put any faith in Edmonton at all.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't proven it, but neither is Colorado.
That's true.
So one of these, I think that'll be a great series, Colorado and Edmonton.
Yep.
It's going to be a phenomenal series, hopefully.
Yep.
All right, let's move into some baseball, Ben.
Hey, before we do that, I'm going to open up my second beer.
Oh, go for it. Yes, let's do that.
And want to kind of let this know. It's actually another Untitled Art. So this is going to be just the actual hard seltzer instead of a smoothie seltzer. So this is going to be the Blood Orange Pomegranate hard seltzer. Ryan Smith, another artist on the can. So nicely done with that. Got a shout out. Rand Smith, any artist that comes out on a can, definitely going to be pushing that. This is also 5%. I don't think I mentioned that on the the previous seltzer, but 5% there, and we'll see how it is out of Waunakee, Wisconsin again.
Waunakee, Wisconsin, man, like it. All right, let's talk about some Major League Baseball this week, Ben. So, pretty wild week. We had a lot of doubleheaders this week, which is cool if you're in bed with COVID for the week. So that was fun. I watched a lot of baseball this week. And let's go over our top 5 teams, and then we'll talk a little baseball. Then we'll talk about anything we want to talk about baseball wise after. So last week, Ben, you had Dodgers number 1, Yankees number 2, Mets number 3. You had Padres number 4, and Milwaukee number 5. So
lots of changes here.
What's your top 5? What's your top 5 look like this week?
All right, so we're gonna start with number 5 at the New York Mets. 3-3 this last week. Not horrible, but not great. But they did decline from going to my number 3 down to my number 5. They won the series against the Nats, but lost against the Mariners, which, in my opinion, they should have won. All games with the Mariners were 1-run games, but their relief pitching absolutely got shelled, and that's going to be a big worry for me looking at the Mets moving forward, especially when they're putting up crooked numbers in every single game. So they definitely have to clean that up to continue to stay on the top 5 here. Number 4, we're going to go with the LA Dodgers. I don't know what happened with the Dodgers this week.
That is one big pile of shit.
Yeah, they lost Kershaw, which sucks. And then, with the suspension of Bauer, it really kind of messes with their starting rotation and what they had planned for this year. So I think that they can definitely look at that at the trade deadline. I'm not too worried about that yet. But when you lose against the against the Pirates and the Phillies this last week in your series, that is a worry for me.
Phillies are a good team, though.
Yeah, decent team. +4 in run differential over their 5-2 record, their 2-5 record, which shows me that they can beat these teams big, and they did. To have a plus run differential in a 2-5 week is it's still impressive, and they did win big, and they lost those close games. So I'm not too worried about them yet, but I think they're gonna need to add some pieces if Kershaw is out long term here. Number 3, I can't believe I'm saying this, is the LA Angels. 5-2 this week with the series wins over the Rays and the A's. Angels and Mets are probably kind of vying for that easiest schedule so far in this season, but you got to win the games against the lower teams, and that's what they're doing here. So I got to put them on the list with the record that they have right now. I don't think they're going to be here for too long because June is a much harder schedule, but as of right now, they're my number 3 team in baseball. Number 2 goes to Houston Astros, 9-1 in their last 10. Very road heavy schedule so far in in this season, with 22 games versus their 18 home games. So I think that's going to give them a little bit of an advantage later on in the season. They do have a great schedule coming up against the 13-21 Red Sox, the 14-19 Rangers, the 16-17 Guardians, and the 16-19 Mariners. So they have an easy way of kind of jumping into, this first overall position within the next 2 weeks or so. So we'll see how these series kind of, play out. If they go really negative against these teams, then they are going to be at the bottom of the barrel. So it's a make or break 2 weeks for the Astros here to see if they're real or not. But number 1, I got to go with the Yankees. 6-1 over this last week. Huge wins over the Rangers, and I guess they had a win over the Rangers this last week, but huge wins over the Blue Jays and the White Sox. Plus 21 run differential in those 7 games, and when they're playing the White Sox, they outscored them 32-15. And the White Sox are a good offensive team. I'm a little surprised that they just got absolutely mollywopped, as I'm going to steal one of your words, but absolutely mollywopped by the Yankees. But great week for the Yankees, puts me, up a position into the number 1.
Nice, man. Nice. The one thing about the White Sox is they're like one of the worst in pitching right now. Like, they cannot fucking pitch, dude. Outside of Dylan Cease, dude, they're like awful at everything. Like, not good as far as pitching goes. All right, so last week I had Dodgers number 1, Mets number 2, Yankees number 3, Twins number 4, and Brewers number 5. I do have some movement this week. Number 5, I'm keeping the Brewers there, 22-13. But I have major concerns about the rotation. This is a team that led the league in ERA last season, but this year they're 13th. And aside from Corbin Burns in the rotation, it's been very up and down. Eric Lauer, his ERA is 2.76, but his FIP is 3.56. So he's getting fairly lucky, and his last 2 starts have not been good. So I'm very concerned about them. And Woodruff has not bounced back, man. He's been bad all year. Freddie Peralta has had a couple good starts, so he's kind of getting himself back. Looking for the Brewers, if they at least get Freddie Peralta back, that's good because they have a great bullpen. But, man, they've been hitting the ball well, though, the last couple of weeks, so that's been good for them. Number 4, I have the New York Mets at 23-13. Mets got off to a scorching start, but since they have cooled off a bit, 6 in ERA still, but in the last week, they've only managed to score 24 runs, which is an average of less than 4 per game, and they're slugging only 365, which is very bad. Number 3, I have the LA Angels of Anaheim of Disneyland. They're 24-13 on the year. But you kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier. Like, if we're going to talk soft schedules, they've probably had the easiest schedule of anybody to start the year. They've only played 2 teams over 500, and they're 3-4 against the Astros, and then they just played the Rays, who are over 500, and they got them at home. But Detmers did pitch a no-hitter this week, in which he only struck out 2 batters. Again, 3.77 ERA, but an FIP of over 4. So expect some regression. And obviously, like, Syndergaard's already showing that he's not able to stay healthy. So I'm really concerned about the Angels pitching staff down the road. Right now they're doing well, but again, like, they've had a pretty easy schedule. And I expect them to continue hitting the ball. It's really pitching, dude, that I'm really concerned about. Then I got the Dodgers number 2, 21-12, coming off a disappointing week, like you said, 2-5. But given that the rotation is in absolute shambles right now, they're still tied for first in ERA, which speaks to the depth of their organization. And the most impressive thing about the Dodgers to me is that this is a team previously where a lot of their runs came from home runs. Right now they're 15th in home runs with 32, but they're 2nd in runs scored, which means that they're manufacturing runs, which I think is more sustainable, in the long haul. So I like the Dodgers at 21-12, number 2. And then I got the Yankees, obviously, number 1, 25-9 on the year. Best record in baseball, number 1 in WRC, tied for first in team ERA and 2nd in run differential. I mean, they're tops in hitting. They're tops in they're tops in hitting. They're near the top in hitting, but they've been pitching lights out, dude. Number 1 relievers ERA, number 2 in starting rotation. So I keep coming back to this, Ben. Like, Nestor Cortez is pitching with a 1.76 ERA. Like, how long is that sustainable for? Like, at some point, this guy has to regress to the means. You know what I mean? So, be interesting to stay on top of and keep noticing. But interesting start to the year. I saw some other stat the other day that the Yankees, last time they got off to this kind of start, they won the World Series, and they have 27 of them. So, should be interesting. Not sure their play style is sustainable, though.
Yep.
Any other?
We gotta talk about this game today.
Which one?
Cincinnati Reds.
Ugh.
What a joke of a team. Only the 6th team in baseball to record a no-hitter and lose the game.
Yeah, and it's crazy because they've been hitting the ball pretty well, too.
They've been hitting the ball well. They walked 6 batters today, which is not great, but also not that bad. And they still lost the game. 6
walks is basically fucking 6 hits. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. And I think 4 of them came in the same inning.
Yeah, and that's just bad. And I did this as a best bet today. I had it up on TikTok, and I said, like, the Reds are the worst team on offensively against left-handed pitching, and Jose Quintana was a starting pitcher today, coming off a really great start against the Dodgers, in which he held them scoreless for over 6 innings. So I kind of expected the Reds to struggle offensively, but I did not expect the Pirates to not even get a hit. You know what I mean? But that's the thing about Hunter Green, who was a starting pitcher for Cincinnati. Elite stuff. I mean, this is the guy that's going to be an elite pitcher, but right now he is really struggling with his command. Yeah. And you know, he didn't get hit, but he couldn't keep the ball in the strike zone, you know, and that's his biggest problem, dude. And that's what he has to change that. Yeah. But yeah, pretty bad. The Reds suck, dude.
Reds definitely suck. Yep.
There's no way around it, dude. The Reds are fucking the worst team in baseball. Hands down, dude. They fucking suck.
Which I did not see after the year that they had last year.
Yeah, but I mean, they traded everybody.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is to be expected. I didn't think they were going to be this bad. I wouldn't expect any team to be this bad. I mean, they're on pace to fucking win less than 40 games.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. I don't understand it.
Nah, not at all, dude. It's fucking insane.
All right.
All right, Ben, you know what that means? It's time for our best bets of the evening. Last week, you went 0-2, Ben.
Yeah, did not do well. It's the first time in a long time.
It is. Milwaukee -1.5 over the Reds. That was an L. And then you had the Bucks -1 over Boston. That was an L. So let's turn it around this week, Ben. What are your two best bets of the week?
All right, so we are going to start it off with, let's start with the Braves and the Brewers. We're looking at the over-under here, and we're going to be going over 7.5, which I think is pretty low for this game. When you've got two pitchers in Ian Anderson and Freddie Peralta, who have been struggling at the beginning of aspect of this season. Ian Anderson 3-1 with a 4.2 ERA. Freddie Peralta with a 4.4 ERA, 2-1. But the issues that I'm really seeing here is going to be the bullpen and kind of the depth of the pitching here. So I think we can look at the over here. Atlanta has gone over in 5 of their last 6 games. Milwaukee has gone over in 6 of their last 7 games. And with 7.5 here, I think we can definitely look at that. I might go first half under, but because it's going to be at probably 3.5, I wouldn't necessarily make that bet. But I think over for the whole game is definitely one that we can look at. Second game and second bet that I'm going to be making is going to be New York Yankees -1.5 against the Oilers. We look at the start of the season, and the Oilers did come out strong with winning the first 3 games against New York, but the second 3 games have been a completely different series. The Yankees have come back and won 8-12, 5-2, and 10-5. If we look at the line,
who are the Yankees playing? The Orioles?
Orioles, yeah. Did I say the Oilers?
Yeah, you did. I was like, hold on, what?
Am I dyslexic here? I think I might be. But the Orioles. So we've got Kyle Bradish on the hill, which is he's pitching 4.24 ERA. I can't talk at all right now. And we've got Severino going up for the Yankees, which has got a 4.08 ERA. But Severino has looked good in his last start against Toronto. So I definitely think we can look at the Yankees going -1.5. If you look at money line, it's -220, which I don't think is good value, but you can hit -1.5 at -120.
Ooh, all right. My two best bets of the week. First bet, we're going under 8.5, Seattle and Toronto. Kikuchi has been great in his last 2 starts, both against the New York Yankees, striking out 7 in each of his last 2. And the Mariners are bottom 3rd in the league against lefties, only slugging .360 against lefties. Toronto's offense has not found its groove yet. Worse in the majors, hitting 185 with runners in scoring position. I expect this one to be under 8.5, so let's take it. And then we're going to go over 11.5 runs, Colorado, San Francisco. Rockies are the best offense against lefties, hitting over 300 with an OPS of 804. And Alex Wood has a career 8.5 ERA at Coors. The ball has also been flying the fuck out of Coors Field the last week, averaging over 15 runs per game. And then Sensatella is taking the mound for Colorado. He is not good. He has a good ERA at home. Don't get it twisted. but he's given up 30 hits in 19 innings, and the Giants are hitting righties very well this season. Top 5. I expect this to be a high-scoring game. There's not a ton of value with Giants, so I love the over here. I think this is going to be a very high-scoring game. So give me the over, and let's go to the window and cash this money.
Oh, yeah. All right, and since we are done with sports, we're going to be moving back to the drink side of it. So, Jordan, give me a rating out of 5 for your H2O there.
My H2O, man. H2O is the best, dude. 5 out of 5, dude.
Hell yeah.
I drink every day.
Vegas stuff. High quality Vegas stuff out there. Hell yeah.
Yep.
All right, so I had 2 seltzers tonight. I wanted to hop on the water trend. So the first one that I had was the Kumquat Mango Smoothie Seltzer from Untitled Art. Again, Untitled Art is coming from what is it, Waunakee? Yeah, Waunakee, Wisconsin. And this was a 5%er. Both of these were 5%. This was actually a really, really great seltzer. I'm going to give this one a 4.75 out of 5. This is one that I definitely would get again. It tasted like, it tasted like carbonated juice. You couldn't really tell that there was a 5% alcohol in here. And it was, it was something that you can definitely sip on and, drink a fair amount of it. I'm so glad that this one came in a 16 ounce compared to the 12 ounce of the other, because it was one that I wanted to keep drinking. So Kumquat Mango, awesome. Smoothie seltzer too. I think this is the first smoothie seltzer I've had. And you could really tell that it was really fruit forward and in my opinion, better than, the other seltzers. The other one that I had from Untitled Art, this was a 5%er. This was the Blood Orange Pomegranate Hard Seltzer. This was very good as well. I, haven't unfortunately gotten to, the whole 12-ounce can here, but it was a very, very good seltzer as well. I'm going to give this one a 4.25 out of 5. I'm very, very happy with Untitled Art Seltzer. These may be kind of moving into an everyday seltzer for me. Little higher on the calorie wise compared to most seltzers that you get. This does have 115 calories compared, but you're getting like actual fruit in here, which is definitely a kind of higher quality than your normal seltzers that you're going to be getting. So I think you can pay a little bit more for the Untitled Art. You really get a nice freshness out of this Blood Orange Pomegranate. It is a little bit more seltzery than the smoothie seltzer that you had, but it's still thick. Definitely is still thick, but nice and refreshing. Great mouthfeel, good carbonation there. So 4 out of 5.
Very nice.
Oh yeah. All right, so that was the podcast. Make sure to check out the Taproom Sports Podcast coming out on Sunday, on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, and on Thursday. Now we are
not Thursday. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
It's coming out.
Oh yeah, it comes out on Thursday.
Yeah, we record.
Unless you watch it live on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. So you get it 4 days straight, which is the great thing. And we are all focusing on sports betting, beer, and fun. So definitely check out the podcast. Make sure to check us out on Instagram at Taproom Sports Podcast. Make sure to check us out on Twitter at Taproom_sports. You can check out our website, which is www.taproomsportspodcast.com. Make sure to go to Devour and use promo code Taproom when signing up. You get $10 off your first purchase of $25 or more. I am Big Ball and Ben Larson, here with Jordan. Stacks on Stacks on Stacks. Let's
go.
Thank you for checking us out on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yes, sir.